Probably less than that, like 1 in 6 or something.
I'd
But
have to do the math.
it's not that high. It's not like it's 70% to draw the Caracas, but just not having to worry about it has just got to be a huge load off of Tim's shoulders.
Yep, Romario mulligans, gets Endbringer to counter the show and tell, which is, nice, but
Yeah,
then
I think that hand would have shaped up to be very good, but like in the dark, knowing I'm playing against Reanimator, I would not have kept that and Romario Mulligans to 5.
and
Did you see?
he scries a Matter Shaper to the bottom on his
Mhm.
mulligan.
Okay.
So 2/2 endless one. Not the fastest of clocks, but he's hoping that the Chalice on 1 on turn 2 will be enough to slow Tim down. Drew an Entomb for turn and a Force of Will plus a second Show and Tell. So now we're going to have probably dump Elishnorn and Entomb. So what I would dump, keep the Griselbrand in hand for potential Show and Tells.
Yep.
Yep.
This looks really bad for Mario. He is going to have access to a very big endless one, a 6/6, but that's not big enough to deal with Elishnorn. It gets shrunk by -2/-2, and then the Elishnorn can still attack into it because it's a 4/4.
Force 7, Vigilance.
Well, yeah. I'm saying
Oh,
the endless one.
the endless one's a 4/4. Yes, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
misunderstood. Yeah.
So here's a Chalice of the Void on 1, and Tim can probably just
I mean,
Tim
it
doesn't.
shuts off half of his reanimation enablers. It shuts off a lot of his cantrips. There isn't really like, I guess you'd want to save the force for Endbringer in this spot, and Tim's already pretty well set up in terms of his graveyard. At this point, he either just needs a 2-mana reanimation spell or a third land. And knowing that Romario isn't playing he's playing Mishra's Factory over Wasteland, he knows that his mana base is safe. So, I do like holding the force here just as a defensive. Chalice does nothing. Let's save this for something that does.
I'm actually really against holding the force here. The reason why is if Romario draws an Endbringer, he doesn't have to cast it. He can just hold it in his hand for the show and tell, and then if the show and tell hits the board, then the guy comes into play. The Endbringer comes into play. Furthermore, he's playing 4 Cavern of Souls. So like if he draws Cavern of Souls, then he can get the Endbringer there anyway. So I really don't like it.
That's fair.
And now, a third or whatever of Tim's deck is just shut off because he has so many 1-mana spells. He's going to show and tell here, and showing and tell and a Griselbrand is going to work pretty well. Just a guess.
Yeah, but I mean the thing too in terms of the Endbringer is that Griselbrand is likely in this spot to draw him into a 2-mana reanimation spell for that Elishnorn, and then he could just discard down to hand size too.
That's also true.
So it's like if he has it, and if he doesn't have the Endbringer, then it's just pretty much game over. I think it's close either way. I definitely see your logic.
I still think I will have forced will.
Yeah, you very well may be correct. Especially because things like Warping Whale, which is, even though you can counter the Warping Whale with force, it's close. It does ultimately, and the reason we can spend time talking about this is Romario has to chain together some very, very good draws, and Tim has to. Tim, I don't know what can do to lose from this spot. This game is.
He can forget to Forcible and Endbringer and then take no further game actions after that. I think
that is the thing that can occur.
No Caracas and no Eldrazi Displacer is really hurting Romario here and against Sneak and Show. I think that those cards are very good. The Matter Reshapers that he's replacing them with are very good against like Bug, maybe Shardless.
I mean, the Matter Reshapers are pretty good against a lot of the fair decks. The issue with Eldrazi Displacers, even though it's very powerful, it's adding a second color to a 1-color deck, and it's adding a little bit more inconsistency. I know Ari Lax tried it brewing for GP Pittsburgh. He posted a video series for it on Star City and ended up not working out. Actually, for what it's worth, I do like Eldrazi Displacer in Death and Taxes. Because strangely enough, it has enough colorless sources where that works. But
so it looks like Tim went for the Exhume. It got Warping Wailed, but Tim could Daze, and Romario didn't have another mana source to pay for the Daze. And then he got Elish Norn in, and that was the game.
Yep. So going to sideboards, we're gonna assume that Romario's on the play. So I don't. The Leylines of the Voids have to come in. Like
Oh, you
that's
think? I don't
yeah.
know. Leyline of the Void, like, that's 4 slots that if you draw them, they don't do anything. Yes, okay, Leyline is
Yeah.
coming in.
And so's the Fairy Macabre.
Yes.
You can make an argument for Sphere Effects just to slow Tim down. It's I definitely have kind of leaned more on the shop spectrum with that because Tim is a fast combo deck, and I'm used to Vintage where you just jam enough spheres and hope that the combo deck can't actually cast a spell, and that's a lot more potent on the play.
Yeah, I think Sphere is probably better than Endless One here, or like maybe Eldrazi Mimic. It doesn't matter what your clock is so much, so long as you have one against this in this matchup, and you could just play any creature basically, and just have enough things to slow down your opponent in order to win. What is Tim bringing in? Looks like he's got 3 Abrupt Decays and a Golgari Charm. The Golgari
Yeah,
Charm.
Golgari Charm. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so it can destroy.
destroys Leyline of the Void, so that's just a nice bit of counterboarding. It also could potentially sweep up a bunch of mimics, I guess. I do like it as a bit of counterboarding for Leyline though, because Abrupt Decay can't hit that card. He's getting rid of. He also looks like he's bringing the Ashen Rider, just as a way to deal a potential over Iona, which is not a card that in this matchup.
Today I learned that a 7/7 flying is not a card.
I mean, it's not like I would if it's just a 7/7 flyer, no text. Would you want to reanimate that?
It's not as good as Ashen Rider, but it's still pretty good. Like, a 7/7 flying is bigger than anything that Romario can throw at it, other than a very big Endless One.
Sure, but
Anyway,
I mean,
so
it's not
here
as
we
good as
go.
Ashen Rider. It's a 5/5 will trade off with the Reality Smasher. It'll exile something else on the way out. It exiles something coming in. It's better. Iona has no text against this deck. It's 7/7 flyer.
I didn't say it anyway. So here we go. Game 2. Romario's on the play. He has a turn 1 Chalice.
Turn 1
and
Chalice.
Then, like, turn 2 Thought Knots here.
He actually potentially has turn 1 Thought Knot, turn 2 Chalice if he wants it with double Simian Spirit Guide.
I would definitely throw down the Chalice first.
I think it's yeah, I agree. But it's turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Thought Knot is much less all in.
Tim does not think very long before Force of Willing that turn 1 Chalice.
And then Tim, of course, with the Lotus Petal, has turn 1 Entomb Reanimate for some giant monster, though.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, Tim had the perfect draw. Tim had force your first play into.
Yeah, he had a turn 1 combo plus backup. Like, seriously? That's unreal. So, what do you get here? Do you get Grizzlebrand? Grizzlebrand's good. You have to reanimate, so
it is hard for me to believe that Grizzlebrand is ever, like, even if Grizzlebrand is wrong in this spot, it's not going to be wrong by much.
Exactly, that's true. I think Ashen Rider is a reasonable card here, too.
I agree. Personally, even though Tim does not run it in his list, I would have liked to see Jin-Gitaxias here. I think that card, before Grizzlebrand was printed, that card was the reanimation target. Yep. And while the draw, the body was worse, it cost 10 mana, so it was much more painful, and it was a 5/4. Your opponent not being able to have a hand is very real. Like,
well, it was also printed before Sire of Insanity, and some decks play that.
Yeah, that was also, like, around when I was playing combo. Actually, Eureka was my deck of choice back then, and the Eureka deck literally could not win the game if an opposing Jin-Gitaxias was on the board, and you had to pass the turn and discard your hand.
Yeah.
So it might be a bit too good in my mind.
Sorry, Tim is making a bold move at 4 life with the opponent having 4 power on the board, attacking with his only creature with no way of getting another creature onto the battlefield. But fortunately, his creature also has lifelink, so he's going to be okay.
Yeah, it does prevent him from casting Force of Will, though, drawing 7 casting Force, because even if he wanted to use Golgari Charm to shrink the Thought-Knot Seer into a 3/3, he'll have to pay a life to do it off the Misty Reinforced. Yeah, but he did, there could have been Lotus Petal, but he didn't play it, so, you know.
Okay, here's a Matter Shaper. I mean, Tim doesn't have any counter magic right now, but
Matter Shaper into Chalice on 1, I guess, is a play. No, he can't play Chalice on 1 because then he's dead on
dies.
board from the crackback because he's at 9. Because Ancient Tomb has a cost. It's not just Soul Ring on a land.
Yeah, so if you're Tim here, do you draw 7 with Grizzlebrand? You're at 14, which means that a Reality Smasher is not lethal. I think you just draw 7. I don't know what you'd
because
be
that puts
afraid
him
of.
to drawing 7 puts him to 7, and then there's 7 power on board. So he'd have to, even with like the Golgari Charm shenanigans, that's actually a way to lose.
Oh,
By
wait,
not drawing
yeah,
7, he wins the game in that spot.
yeah, my math was totally off. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, so yeah. By not drawing 7, he stays out of Reality Smasher range. So Tim takes the match, and he's going to improve to 4-1. So currently Julian and Tim are at 4-1, leading our league. Romario drops another one, going down to 1-4.
All right.
So
Someone else with me in the X4 bracket. I don't mean to be too much. There's fellow commiserations all around.
yeah, I might be joining you next week. I had to buy this week, so I wasn't able to. What's the opposite of improve? From 2-3 to 2-4.
I have faith. I have faith.
Okay, that
Veteran Explorer is gonna get there. We're gonna do it. We're gonna pull it out.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning in. I think Mike has a short sign up for you. Yeah, see you guys next week.
See you next week.